time for The Digital Dish. That's not just cooking, that's chatting it up with it girl of the culinary world, New York Times bestselling author, Molly Baz. Hi. You are really the it girl of the culinary world right now. I mean...
You stop.
I will not stop, Molly.
You won't stop.
Just getting started. And you say that you're not a trained chef, and you don't believe in culinary school, you know, but you had some awesome rude awakenings when you got into the restaurant world. Why do you feel like people can feel confident if they haven't had that formal training?
You know, I feel like for people who want to get into the food biz, as a career, the best path forward is just to go work in a restaurant, that you don't need to go to culinary school. You don't need to pay for an education. It's nice if you can, but I feel like you can get all of the education you need working in restaurants. Or if you're not trying to create a career in food, you could just cook your way through the book and you'd have all the chops you need.
I loved your story about when you did start working in restaurants, though. You talked about burnout. And I thought that was so interesting because I always hear chefs kind of talking about the fact that it's really hard to have a personal life when you're a chef. What made you make the decision to put your life first when you were experiencing serious burnout in the restaurant world?
I think it was just a matter of trying to re-envision what my plan was, what my game plan was in food. So starting out in restaurants, it was a really exciting place to get my jump start in my career, but I knew that ultimately I didn't actually want to run a restaurant. And so it kind of became clear after 4 or 5 years, I need to pivot and figure out another way to be really creative and stay on track in my career without having to work the hours of a restaurant and knowing that it's not leading me where I want to go. And I always admired food magazines. I read gourmet magazine growing up. And so, a pivot towards working in a food publication made a lot of sense to me. And so that's what I got after.
I love that also some of your favorite cookbooks are totally some of my favorite cookbooks, including Where Cooking Begins. And I feel a lot of symmetry to the things that inspire you. I have to also ask you about, after college, you started a supper club that actually became profitable. Why was I not alive and at that supper club? How was it doing a supper club?
You were alive. You just weren't around me in a small town in upstate New York.
I have not lived until I went to the supper club. Tell me about it. Was it amazing?
It was amazing. It was kind of that was the start of the careers before I worked in restaurants. And it was my way of testing the waters and trying to figure out is running a restaurant and working in the back of the house in the kitchen something I want to do. And so I started this supper club on the weekends called PDE, which stood for Private Dining Experience, which makes me giggle. And it was just a way to bring people from the community in our town where we went to school, which is Saratoga Springs, New York, into our homes to put on a multi-course dinner party every Friday night. It was a blast.
I really admire and just want to highlight for everybody the self-awareness that you developed in life as you developed, recipes. You figured out who you were and what you wanted. You did things like supper clubs. You worked your way in different forums and decided who you wanted to be and how you wanted your life to go. And I just think that message is so empowering and clear, and I feel like I get a lot of takeaways from it. So I thank you. Oh, thank you for sharing your story. I think it's full of wisdom.